The Philippines is said to be one of the fastest growing economies in Asia, with about 270 stocks listed on the Philippine stock market and only 30 stocks in the Philippine Stock Exchange Index, or PSEI. The Philippine stock market continues to remain at an attractive level for local and foreign investors. Global Strategy Real Estate keeps you updated with the latest information on the Philippine stock market to prove you just that. In collaboration with AB Capital Securities Inc., Global Strategy Real Estate presents to you the weekly stock market wrap-up, posting every Friday of every week. Hello everyone and welcome back to the weekly stock market wrap-up with AB Capital Securities Inc. Today we have Mr. Lexter to give us this week's stock market report.
Hi, so good morning everyone. Thanks again for joining us. So for today's seminar will be about the follow-on offering of PH Resorts. So they're planning to raise up to 1 billion pesos for their casino located in Mactan in Cebu. So just to give you a brief background also of the company. So PH Resorts is actually owned by Dennis Uy through his holding company, Udana Corporation. So this will serve as his gaming and hospitality business. So this one will be primarily focused on their hotels and casinos in Mactan and Cebu. Although they have other subsidiaries, Lapu-Lapu Leisure, Emerald Bay, Clark, they have projects in Clark. Donatella Hotel is also operational in Bohol. They have Azuela Cove, which is also operational in Davao, as well as other subsidiaries. But essentially, this will focus, the offering will focus more on their casino in Cebu, in Mactan. So just to give you a quick background also, so in 2009, they recently acquired this company from Calapan Ventures, and eventually they did a backdoor listing of this company, which is already PH Resorts. So in 2017, they got a professional license for them to operate an integrated resorts. So again, which will be in the island of Mactan. And so far, currently they're already 93% complete for their project, which is going to be a hotel and casino. And they're looking to operate as early as 2022. So by that time, the COVID would be behind everything, and hopefully this eventually would capitalize on the growing tourism market, not just in the Philippines but as well as in Cebu. So for the management team, of course, chairman is headed by their owner, Dennis Uy, and their president with 28 years of experience in finance and banking, Mr. Escalona, Raymond Escalona. Their COO has over 20 years in the hotel and gaming industries. Previously has experience in casinos in Macau. Their CFO, also Ms. Lara Lorenzana, also has 20 years of experience in investment banking and project and structured finance. Leo Venezuela is also has the expertise. It has been connected with a recent with the gaming company, which is also listed in the Philippine Stock Exchange. And Mr. Rod Hackman also is their gaming GM for their gaming operations. Also has 30 years of experience. And for the hotel side, Ms. Alan Borges, which is their GM for their hotel operations, with, of course, over 30 years of experience in the industry. So we'll move on to the presentation. So I guess focusing more on the gaming industry here in the Philippines. Since 2010, it has actually ramped up. The gaming industry has actually boomed throughout the years, and as of 2019 was actually the record high. So this is actually pre-COVID numbers. So it essentially generated $4.3 billion in revenues. Of course, despite the recent pandemic, gaming revenues, of course, casinos are at minimum operations, and during the second quarter was completely shut. But of course, moving forward, they're still expected to generate at least $1.7 billion. So mostly are coming from the first quarter and the latter part of 2020. And by 2022, we expect to reach pre-COVID levels. In fact, surpass pre-COVID levels in the next 2 years. As of course, the Philippines remains to be one of the more attractive investment destinations for gaming casinos, and we'll discuss that further in the presentation. Well, so far, so in total installed capacity, so these are for tables and EGMs, it has grown an attractive 26% on a CAGR basis, and 27% in terms of the EGMs, or electronic gaming machines. So as you can see also, the growing market, not just for just a few number of casinos, but essentially these are mostly located in the Bay Area. So Resorts World, City of Dreams, Soler, and even Okada has consistently grown the past several years. And of course, with the growing tourism market also of the Philippines, pre-COVID has also shown stellar numbers in terms of tourism numbers. 2019, in fact, the Department of Tourism has done a terrific job in terms of tourism, and so far in 2019, we have seen more than 8 million tourist arrivals, international tourist arrivals. And among the faster, in fact, the tourism sector grew 10% on a CAGR in terms of tourist arrivals. But focusing on Cebu, in fact, grew even at a faster pace. So 16%, which is relatively faster than the whole tourism market in the Philippines. And of course, given also that the casino will be located in Mactan, this is actually only a 20 to 30-minute drive away from the airport. And so far, LGUs, generally the government in Cebu has done some infrastructure works leading towards the Emerald Bay, which is the island of Mactan. So this will be an easier destination also for international tourists, especially coming from Macau and even Hong Kong and China, as they start to lure more Chinese gamblers. And relatively, the Philippines is more attractive compared to other markets, given also the tax regime of the current gaming industries here in the Philippines, as well as its proximity. So we're relatively closer to our immediate competitors, even South Korea and Japan. So China is relatively closer to our immediate competitors in the gaming industry. And of course, historically, the industry growth is supported by, of course, the attractive labor costs of the Philippines. So we're relatively cheaper in terms of labor costs compared to countries such as Singapore and even Macau, which makes the gaming industry relatively competitive against our competitors. And in terms of gaming tax rates, so the tax regime, as mentioned, gamblers are paying lower fees relative to its competitors. So Macau, even Vietnam, Malaysia, and Singapore. So Philippines offers a relatively more gambling friendly environment for the industry. So moving on to the Emerald Bay, as you can see here, that the structure is almost done, and as mentioned by the company, as of July of 2020, the whole structure is 93% complete. So this will be this is located actually in the island of Mactan. So as mentioned, it's actually near to the airport, so which is very accessible to investment to the gamblers. And of course, it's well positioned also to cater both not just for international tourists, but also for the local tourists. So first, of course, the local demand will recover first and remain less volatile, specifically for the Cebu and Vismin region. And of course, best property in the region in terms of experience and standards. Of course, Cebu is considered among the best, second best investment destination after Metro Manila. And of course, it's competing with the likes of Entertainment City and even Macau. So the local government, even the province of Cebu, is poised to be a gambling haven, which would actually benefit for PH Resorts, given that given its first mover advantage. And for the premium mass or the international players, so high-end IR, so integrated resorts on the beach is also very attractive. Especially what's actually more attractive here in the Philippines is that what is considered a mass market player in Macau is already considered a VIP player here in the Philippines. So given the amount of money being invested in a casino, so the Philippines can offer a more competitive services compared to its competitors in Macau and even Singapore. And of course, VIPs and international. So these are for junket agents. So in terms of tax structure, it essentially allows bigger discounts and rebates compared to its competitors in the region. And for Emerald Bay, so this is actually located on a 12.5 hectare property. So which is the phase one of the gaming floor area, which is about 4,500 square meters of GFA. And the hotel will consist of 270 keys inside the hotel, which will also comprise of 122 tables. So these are comprised of 22 VIPs as well as 100 mass market segments. Along with that will be including 600 electronic gaming machines or EGMs, and will also consist of 5 food and beverage outlets inside the Emerald Bay. So just I guess going through deeper into the casino. So essentially this is will be the construction cost. So for the phase one, which will roughly amount to about $238 million and $465 million for phase one and phase two. So essentially the phase one will be completed by 2022 and will be partially operating. By 2023 will be the expansion phase until 2026. So that will be for phase one and phase two as well. So just to give you also some quick snapshots also of what the casino will look in Emerald Bay and Cebu. And of course, there's some pictures also showing, just sharing some pictures also of the public spaces, hotel elevator lobbies, the corridors inside the hotels, inside the hotel rooms. So just to go through the presentation, of course, the timeline. So currently, they're almost done with the presentation. So as of August, they're already 93% complete, 97% for the podium, and 89% for the hotel structures. So this actually is just for the interiors and fit outs. So which will commence already upon completion of the concrete pouring. So essentially, it's almost done. And by 2023, of course, they're expected to complete the podium. By 2021, they expect to complete also a majority of the recruitment of their staff. And by the fourth quarter of 2021 will already be the soft opening of Emerald Bay. By second quarter of 2022, they expect to open the first phase of Emerald Bay, completing already the admin building. And of course, by 2023 to 2026 will be essentially the phase two of Emerald Bay. And just to show you also some additional pictures of where they are right now. So it's actually fast tracking also. And I guess if you note also that the province of Cebu was not as badly hit as in Manila. So essentially, the lockdown was concentrated heavily on Metro Manila and the outer parts of the capital. But for Cebu, specifically for Mactan, construction works, in fact, were still continuing during the lockdown period. And of course, it wasn't as badly affected during the COVID. So construction works were still continuing throughout the year. So just to also show you some additional pictures of Emerald Bay. So again, PH Resorts has actually tied up with several casinos that have been operating also throughout the years. So for their project management, they tap 10-month, which is a world-renowned project management team. So which also operated Solaire, even Marina Bay Sands in Singapore, Four Seasons, Sands Cotai Central, and even the Venetian in Macau. And of course, they also partnered with, in terms of Steelworks, which is also the same who provided for Solaire, Bellagio in Las Vegas, JW Marriott in Las Vegas, and even other casinos across the world. And as mentioned earlier, the casino of PH Resorts is strategically located near the airport, and also located along with the other 5-star hotels. You have Dusit-Thani, Aruga by Rockwell, you have Sheraton in Cebu and Mactan, and of course Emerald Bay, as you can see here, will be roughly in the middle of that main road if you've been to Mactan in Cebu. So very accessible to the airport. So for the Donatella Resort, this one is currently 12 upscale villas, so which is under also PH Resorts. Currently, this is already operational. So this one is located in Bohol. So essentially, this will be just a hotel. I would say a minor contribution to their net income. But essentially, just to show you also what's inside also the listed company of PH Resorts. So for Donatella, so this one's located in Panglao in Bohol. So essentially, this is comprised of 12 villas, 5 pools. So essentially, the whole the property is located in a 7-hectare property in Panglao in Bohol. So for Donatella, it's also nearly located the Panglao International Airport. In fact, it is only a 7-minute drive from the airport in Bohol. So very strategically located in the province of Bohol. And just to show you some pictures also of the hotel and resorts in Panglao Island in Bohol for Donatella. So going back to the casino, so they have the 7-year exclusivity from time of opening in Lapu-Lapu City in Mactan Island. So they got a provisional license both from the PAGCOR, from the Gaming Commission, as well as the city of Lapu-Lapu, which is where the casino will be located for Emerald Bay. So again, for the timing, so they're targeting to open by the second quarter of 2022, slightly moved back from the original target of first quarter of 2021. But in terms of construction, it's still ongoing, and currently they have 300 workers on site. So the industry, they're very confident that everything will be normalized by 2022, and the COVID will be behind us by the time that they open. So they have adequate time to implement most of the stringent health and safety standards by then. And they're very confident that once casinos are allowed to open already, they don't expect any significant changes in terms of behaviors of casino players, especially casino players coming from China, Macau, and even Singapore and Japan. So currently, the gaming industry is quite resilient, as we've seen in in other parts of the region, and essentially the gaming is really tied to the consumer's emotion. So they're very confident that the gaming figures will go back to pre-COVID numbers by 2022, as shown in the previous slide. And among the strategies of PH Resorts is essentially to deliver a high-end gaming and hospitality experience aligned with the 5-star property standard. So as mentioned earlier, a gambler considered a mass market in Macau is already considered a VIP player here in the Philippines. So essentially, that's more attractive for the gaming players, given also the 5-star service that they can provide to its consumer. And of course, it plans to become a regional player, and then capitalize on the uniqueness also of the resort, essentially to establish an international presence. And of course, it's focusing on its people, so hiring and training the best available talent, foster excellence and ownership. So to keep positive relationship with significant stakeholders. So these are the communities, regulatory commissions, financials, shareholders. So essentially, these are being done by PH Resorts. So just among the key highlights of their financials. So currently, Emerald Bay is in the construction stage, as we've shown on the previous slides, some construction progress. So currently at 6.1 billion pesos as of the first half. And in terms of their land assets, so currently that's amounting to about 7.6 billion pesos. So that includes already Emerald Bay as well as the Donatella even as well, located in Davao. And Emerald Bay, the project site is adjacent property, is already appraised at around 6 billion pesos as of the first quarter. So this was actually done by Santos Knight Frank. So just to show you also a quick snapshot also of their balance sheet as of the second quarter of 2020. And so far, in terms of the fair value of their properties, so again, amounting to about 7.6 billion pesos, about 5.96 billion pesos from their Emerald Bay site, and 1.3 billion pesos from their Donatella Panglao in Bohol. So bulk of the proceeds will be used essentially for the whole project in Mactan. So 21.7 billion pesos, or about 418 million US dollars. So 10.4 billion will be used for construction, 12.4 billion pesos for essentially for the total construction cost. So which is about half of the total sources of funds to be used. And of course, just to highlight on the investment merits of PH Resorts. So as mentioned earlier in the previous presentation, they're strategically located in the beachfront in Mactan for their integrated gaming resorts. So they have the expertise. They essentially tapped into more than 30 years experience for their management team. And of course, internationally renowned in terms of technical consultants and even the project of their management team. So of course, Philippines is also considered as a prime gaming and tourism destination. So as shown earlier in the presentation, that the gaming industry in the Philippines has stellarly grown since 2009, since the start of opening of some key integrated resorts such as Resorts World in Newport City. And of course, world-class gaming and tourism developments for the Philippines. And of course, PH Resorts is financially backed also by Udener Corporation, led by Dennis Uy, essentially committed to the growth of the gaming sector of the Philippines. Just to give you a summary also of the offering. So they're looking to raise as much as 1.1 billion pesos from the follow-on offering. So essentially, a follow-on offering is like an IPO. But since PH Resorts is already listed in the Philippine Stock Exchange, this will be just additional issuance of shares. So all of the offer shares will be primary shares. So these are essentially new issuance. So 300 million primary common shares will be issued to investors. 240 million will be allocated for QIBs, or the qualified institutional buyers, while 60 million shares will be offered to the trading participants or the brokers. And the offering will also consist of an over allotment option. So if we see some over subscription, they have the option to allocate 150 million in additional primary common shares. So the offer price range will range from 1 peso to 250 per share, which is quite attractive given that the current share price is roughly around, I believe, 270 as of today. And as mentioned, they're planning to raise as much as 1.1 billion pesos from this offer. And the minimum subscription will be 10,000 common shares with the multiples of 1,000 common shares. So for the underwriter, the lead underwriter is Unicapital, while the co-lead underwriter is Abacus Capital. So again, bulk of the proceeds will be used for construction. 1.1 of the total proceeds, 1 billion will be used for the construction, and essentially about 20 million pesos will just be used for general corporate purposes. And they plan to disburse this by the third quarter of this year, right after the follow-on offering. Just to take note some key dates. So target PSV board by September 30. So the roadshow, October 5 to 12, which was ongoing. Pricing was or will be on October 13, while they're targeting to get ACC approval by October 15. And the official offer period will be on October 19 to 26, while the submission of firm offer and commitments by the trading participants will be on October 24. And they target to list the follow-on or the additional shares on November 3. So I guess just to clarify also that PH Resorts is already listed in the Philippine Stock Exchange. So this one is essentially just a follow-on offering. So essentially they'll be issuing new shares to the public at a discounted price if you compare it to where it is right now. So if the offer price range will be from 1 peso to 250 per share. So at a discount to where it is right now at around 270 or 280 per share. So that wraps up the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lexter, for your stock market report on PH Resorts. Now for our follow-up questions. The first one is, how much impact or influence does the new projects of PHR have to the company's financial performance?
Yeah, well, essentially, so as mentioned earlier in the presentation, so bulk of the revenues, bulk of the income of PH Resorts will really be coming from their gaming and casino business, so which is the Emerald Bay and Mactan in Cebu. So since they're not operating yet, we actually did a comparison to the first 2 years of operations of Bloomberry. So the first two years of operations of Soler. And essentially 90% of the business will be coming from their casinos, their gaming operations, while about 10% will only be coming from their hotel operations. So essentially PH Resorts will be more of a direct gaming play. And given the first mover advantage also of PH Resorts in Mactan, so this will essentially be a game changer in the province of Cebu.
Okay, now for our next question. What is PHR's competitive strength compared to the big casinos or their competitors like Okada or City of Dreams and the rest of the other casinos?
Yes, as mentioned in the presentation earlier, I guess the management team has the expertise, more than 30 years of experience, not just here in the Philippines, but in fact, casinos across the world, even Las Vegas, Macau. So we're confident that the management can pull this off. And of course, the advantage of this is that Cebu Mactan is a very accessible destination here in the Philippines, also connecting from other parts of the region, in Hong Kong, in China, Japan. So essentially, it's very accessible, especially with the recent, with the new terminal in Cebu Mactan. So essentially, that's also just a 10 to 20 minute drive, which is basically very attractive for casino players. And of course, since it's going to be the first casino in Mactan, essentially the first integrated resorts in Mactan, so it gives them the first mover advantage in the location. So unlike competing already with existing projects, existing casinos in the Bay Area, you have Soler, Okada. So this one will be primarily focused on the Mactan region. And of course, not just focusing on the Philippines, but I guess in the region as a whole, as mentioned earlier, the Philippine gaming industry remains to be competitive in terms of, I guess, on a cost perspective, on a business perspective. The tax regime is a lot better. Tax incentives are more competitive versus casinos or the casino industries in Macau, which is essentially our closest rival.
Okay. And now for our third question, what is your valuation of PHR's offering price?
Yes, well, essentially the market cap right now is 13 billion pesos. So if you want to do a short comparison, it would be good also to look at its, of course, its nearest competitors, Bloomberry. Of course, they've been operating already for several years. So again, we did our analysis also. So essentially, we took out the first 2 years of Bloomberry, and we're expecting that PH Resorts would turn around and make a profit by within 12 to 18 months. In terms of scale, it might not be as big as Soler, given that the market is relatively smaller than the Bay Area. But again, Cebu is a very attractive destination. It's the most second most visited province in the Philippines, next to Metro Manila. So, which is why we think that that the gaming sector as a whole remains to be very attractive.
Okay. And now for our last question, could you explain to us the current situation of the tourism industry here in the Philippines, as well as the future situation of the tourism industry?
Yes, I guess for focusing on the tourism industry, I believe Secretary Puyat of Department of Tourism has been interviewed maybe a few weeks ago. That the focus of the government is really to beef up the local tourism. So essentially, encouraging locals, encouraging Filipinos to travel, within the provinces in the Philippines. So, as soon as the COVID starts to ease, we expect the tourism sector to bounce back. And of course, the government is encouraging a stay-at-home policy, a staycation policy. So essentially, that would be beneficial also for the hotel operators. And of course, since of course we've written off 2020, given that we're coming also from a small base entering 2021, so that provides you an opportunity, exponential opportunity, especially if you're comparing it with a low base in 2020. So in fact, we've seen the worst already in the second quarter. The government, even the local government, has done significant measures in order to beef up the economy. Several movements coming from the BSP and even the national government. So moving forward, we expect the I guess the sector as a whole to return to its pre-COVID numbers in the coming years.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Lexter, for answering all of our questions for today. That ends our weekly market wrap-up with AB Capital Securities Inc. Thank you, and see you on the next video.
Follow us on our social media accounts, and for more videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.